Black Ops 3, I was night shift. I remember the lights would turn off after 9 p.m. and then we would get like yelled at for spilling creamer. We would work 14-hour shifts at one point trying to get Black Ops 3 out. It was just insane. Like, it felt like a dungeon.
Especially when I was working in VR games. As a QA tester, you would be in the headset anywhere from 4 to 8 hours a day with essentially 2 small TV screens blaring into your eyes. It's worth noting that VR manufacturers actually suggest players only stick to like 30 to 60 minutes a day. I personally have long-term, eye vision damage from that experience. I know other people too who had chronic motion sickness for a long time, even after quitting their job.
The treatment of QA across the board, across the game industry, is like a really huge ongoing problem.
I think that a lot of companies bank on, you get your dream job, you're working in video games, so they pay you low wages. They tell you that overtime isn't mandatory, but if you don't do the overtime, you're not called back.
So the fact that these quality assurance workers are hired on a contractual basis, meaning that they don't receive a salary, also means that they don't get health benefits and other benefits that come along with full-time work, even though clearly, as you can note from their own testimony there, they're working incredibly long hours. And they, by the way, these are quality assurance workers who test video games for Activision Blizzard and Raven Software. They announced that they were trying to form a union back in January of 2022, and they were met with fierce opposition by the employers. I'll get to those details in a second. But Cenk, what stands out to me is just how simple their requests are. Like, hey, since we're working here during the night shift, can you leave the lights on? Instead of yelling at us if we spill coffee creamer? Yeah, that's why this story is kind of, it's kind of bifurcated. So here's what I mean. So some of the complaints, honestly, I didn't love, and I'm keeping it real. Like, I got motion sickness from the virtual reality thing. But like that, you had to know that that was a possibility. I mean, we all know that's a possibility. And you wanted the job and you got the job, and then yeah, they're not gonna have you quality tested for 30 minutes a day. And it's just not practical, right? So I'm keeping it real on all fronts. Now, having said that, the other side is like, wait, what do you, like, why wouldn't you turn the lights on? What are we, that's crazy, right? Okay, you say, all right, maybe that's a one-off thing, but wages are not a one-off. And so, and this is the thing that gets me, like, we've done this 1,000 times and you have to treat it with nuance, right? So if you're a small business owner in the middle of Arkansas, you're starting a business, that's one thing, and you got 3-4 employees, right? And you're barely making ends meet, that's one thing. The other thing is you're a giant video game maker and Call of Duty has made a gazillion dollars for you. Don't tell me you can't afford to pay your workers. Totally. You just, that's why in this case, I love that they unionized. Yes. And said, well, no, yeah, you should begin to share some of those proceeds with the people who created that. And so it's not to say that the executives didn't create it, the other people didn't create it, but they did do it together, and only one side got all the payout, right? And the other side got all the downsides and low wages, and that's not right. And in that perfect union video, we just showed you a snippet of it, but later on, one of the workers goes to talk about, and I think this is absolutely true, that employers will abide by the bare minimum in regard to regulations, but they're not, out of the kindness of their own hearts, going to do the ethical thing, which is a much, considering how corporate capture is very real in our government, the ethical standards are much higher than what the regulatory standards are. And I thought that was accurate and also indicative of what they experienced in the workplace. And all they want is, yes, they want to get their pay for the hard work that they're putting in. They want better working conditions, and they would like to get an explanation if they are fired. So for instance, in December of 2021, Raven Software fired 12 quality assurance testers without any warning. Several workers cite this incident as what prompted them to unionize. And if you're gonna rely on the government to look out for you as a worker, especially in this day and age, you're naive and you'd be sadly mistaken. And the one area where we're seeing some progress is workers essentially organizing in their immediate environments to make their immediate environments better. And I love to see that this is happening because this is a new union that's forming within this company, which is great.
So last thing here, look, I swear I'm not doing this because they were a sponsor, but there are some exceptions, but the exceptions prove the rule. That's why I'm telling you this. So Aspiration decided that they were going to do $25 as their minimum wage at their company. Nobody was asking for $25. In fact, the founder, Joe Sandberg, is now pushing for $18 minimum wage for all of California. He's doing a ballot initiative there. But so I tell you that because it's not impossible. Aspiration did it, they're perfectly fine. In fact, they're doing great, right? So the ones that tell, now that's the exception. Now when you go to the rule and they all tell, oh no, we can't pay more than $12 an hour. Really, you can't pay? Because you're public corporations, your profits are also public. We can see how many billions you made. We can see how much the CEO's making. So don't tell me you can't pay $12 to $15 an hour when that is factually, obviously, empirically incorrect. You're just choosing not to pay that so the executives and the shareholders get more and the workers get less.
And I want to read the last graphic here because this is telling of like the culture that the workers are frustrated with. The chief executive of Rockstar Games, publisher of the hugely popular Red Dead Redemption 2, great game, bragged in an interview last year that people there were working 100-hour weeks to finish that game in time for its scheduled release date. I mean, come on. No one should be working 100 hours a week. It's a video game, and the release date is arbitrary. I would argue that the lives and the health of the workers are far more important than abiding by an arbitrary release date.
Look, I understand the business imperative to get it out on time, so I'm mixed on that. But if you're gonna make people work 100 hours a week,
hire more people.
But number one, hire more people. That's an excellent point. Number two, pay them better.
Yes.
Okay. You can't say, hey, I want you to work 100 hours a week, and then I'm gonna keep the billions, and you're gonna get nothing. No deal. Unionize, get together, collectively bargain. You'll have a lot more leverage. That's the right way to do it when you're dealing with these giant companies. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.